And the benefit of fasting in the winter is that you avoid the afternoon crash. Hey guys, in this video, I want to touch into fasting from a seasonal perspective. And I have been motivated to do this pretty much impromptu, like I wasn't planning on doing it, but I just got done talking to a friend we met for coffee. And it happens that he's a very successful person. He owns his own business. He's very in tune with his physical appearance, his physical performance. He's an athlete. And 6 months ago, when we met for coffee, the subject of nutrition came up. So we were talking about how we do things, and he expressed the frustration that he had about not being able to stick to his fasting protocols and his desires. He essentially wanted to fast a certain way, and he was expressing how difficult it was, how it somehow made him frustrated, and especially how he was breaking his fast because he was basically feeling that he was going against the grain. And as you know, if you're into fasting, breaking your fast and doing it in a methodical way has a great impact. I don't want to go into all the benefits because if you're watching this video, you most likely understand that there's scientific evidence, there's spiritual benefits that come with fasting and doing it for the health benefits, for the fitness benefits, from the spiritual benefit, from a willpower benefit, from many cognitive improvements that you experience when you are fasting makes a lot of sense. But the key is into how you do it. So of course, I come up with the seasonal perspective. And I was sharing with him 6 months ago my approach. I was blown away when we met today on how that has helped him do it with confidence, how that has helped him to plan better in a long-term perspective when and how he wants to fast, and how applying the tips that I gave him at the time. In order to do that, I want to bring you back to a time of your life. It can be the summertime. Usually in the summertime, we are very social and we are going to many places. Usually going out to a lake, usually going out to a barbecue, usually going out to friends and family is very common. Even playing sports and gathering after the game, kids' activities, and the routines are a lot busier, and the social environment is a lot harder to commit to a fasting protocol. That's when we were talking. It was summertime last year, and he was expressing his frustration. So I told him, and what I have to tell you is that it is very normal to fail at a certain behavior when that behavior is not convenient to do. When your schedule and when the social dynamics of the season and the moment are not prone towards you sticking to that habit. So fasting has a lot of benefits, but if you're fasting in the grown season, in the grown time of the year, you will have a hard time sticking to it, and you will be more tempted to break your fast in a way that you don't want to, because we know that when we fast, we want to smooth into our eating window, and the meal right after fasting is extremely important. So when we're meeting for coffee, that was the preoccupation in his mind at the time. And as I come to find out today, it completely changed his life. That's why I'm sharing this message with you. So essentially, I have experienced that as well. I have been fasting for over 8 years now. And when I started fasting, I didn't really pay attention on the time of the year. A lot of people tend to fast for physical and for the looks at a certain time of the year when it's actually very hard to stick to it. Let's put the example of going to the beach and wanting to have your six pack, your beach body. If you try to implement nutritional, low on calories, if you try to do that during the summertime, it can be a little conflicting based on everything that's going on around. And quite honestly, it's kind of late for you to shred to the point, if you didn't do anything for 6 months, you're kind of late on the game. So you're kind of being reactive. You're trying to solve an issue in the wrong time of the year for nutrition and for fasting to be strict about something. So instead of that, I share with him that the winter and the fall time, start eating less or shortening your window of eating. So I share that with him. And I also share that there is a great benefit of fasting during seasonal transitions to connect with the energy of the season, the transition that is happening, to connect with yourself and to gain some clarity and momentum moving forward. So that's generally the protocol that I follow, which is that I fast about 4 times a year during, and I would say like a 48-hour fast. I have gone a little longer, 36 hours, but something more than just 24 hours. I tend to do that 4 times a year to give myself a break And again, if you just look at the science and the people that is talking about fasting, that is a really good thing to do. I take it a little farther because the reason that I fast is also to get the benefits to my gut health and my body, to get that little reset, but also to connect deeply with my creator, with myself, and with nature. I'm gonna share a little habit stack that I create when I fast, which is that if it's during a nice time of the year, usually in the spring and in the fall time and in the summertime, I try to go away and camp. And I limit my cell phone, I limit the connection with others. I don't even try to go on walks. I try to stay on the place and I try to really deal with my thoughts and just write stuff down. So I'm combining fasting from foods, but I'm also combining fasting from distractions. I want you to keep that in mind, even though it's a little farther on that subject, because you want to keep that perception as you look at the year. And is that, can you implement longer fast throughout the year, 4 times, every time that the season is transitioning? That's a great time for that. Also, if you look at what are the most convenient times of the year, so now we're going back to perhaps it's a intermittent fasting, perhaps it's a 16 hours of non-eating followed by 8 hours of eating. The time that I tend to use that is in the fall time. And the reason why is because in the summertime I relax a little bit. I have a lot going on, so a lot of the energy that I need involves eating, maybe a little more sweets, a little less healthier and quality of the food to just kind of enjoy the moment. And kudos to those that can go through the whole thing. That's great. I'm not saying not to do it. I'm just acknowledging that it's a lot harder to do in the summertime. There is an energy in the moment that is drawing you towards enjoying life. There is a lot of information heading your way. You're actually burning a lot of neurons, like a lot more than in the wintertime because your brain is observing everything around you. So I indulge myself during that time. And then I realized that in order to have a summer physique, from a physical perspective, it's not as much as what I'm eating at the moment, as long as I'm not, overeating perhaps, but it's more what I do before. Because we all know that burning fat takes time. If you just look at 1 pound of fat, and again, that's not the only reason, but it's one that, is very common. And if you're doing it for that reason, great, I do it as well. Usually you want to ease out your caloric deficit in a long period of time. The reason that fall is a great time to start entering into fasting is because you have less distractions. Other than the holiday season, which it is a significant amount of, there is a little less interaction, and the interactions tend to be a lot more focusing during indoor activities, perhaps. So it is a little more conducive to start easing yourself into that fasting and start shortening your window progressively once you enter into the fall. Again, the energy of the season also has things to do about it. The social environment has things to do about it. The way that we feel as humans when we're in the fall compared to the summer has a lot to do about it. So I'm talking from experience, and that's what I told my friend. It's like, hey, might you consider let go a little bit in the summer? It doesn't mean that you're gonna completely overeat, but how about if you save those desires for fasting for the fall time? So he did just that. Fall time came in, he transitioned into start shortening his window. The first week he told me, and that's what I recommended him, was to just start on smaller windows of time. Don't get to 16 hours right away, but start progressing towards it. And then even the holidays weren't really that big of an impact when you're fasting because most of the events are in the afternoon. So you can kind of play with that. And as you start getting into the winter, that's when you can get more rigorous about your fasting routine. And there's a ton of benefits, which I want to touch on. It's not just from a physical perspective, but it's mostly from an energy perspective. Remember, when we eat, if you just go for lunch break, you drink a beer, you eat a hamburger, you eat some fries with it, and let's just top it all up with an ice cream, you're going to feel the greatest in the afternoon. You know that when you go back to the desk, you're going to feel like resting, like you are going to be in a different state than before you eat. What fasting really do is that it make us more focused. It kind of make us, it give us more energy. It make us so that we're not, or our tummies are not digesting the food. Matter of the fact is that right now I'm talking to you, it might be 2 o'clock. I haven't eaten anything for the whole day yet, and I feel great. Sure, my stomach has something going on, but cognitively, I want you to think about your brain and the amount of energy that goes into eating, number one, and then digesting the food, number two. I also want you to consider that when you eat breakfast, you eat lunch, you eat dinner, it's not a lot of times that you're hungry, it's just that that's your routine. And there is a scientific explanation how your insulin spikes, then it crashes, then you're hungry, then you eat again, and you continue to go through that. I'm not going to get into the whole 3 meal a day culture or eating the whole day culture. I'm not going to go there. This is about fasting. And the benefit of fasting in the winter is that you avoid the afternoon crash. There is a lot more to it and a lot more angles that we compound to make you feel at your peak performance during the winter when it's usually the struggle time of the year for many of us. I have been there. Now, think about this. You start shortening your fasting window. You are into a 16, 8 hour, which is very typical. And then as soon as you get the right timing, which is usually after the holidays, now you can really start shortening that window and you can do what people call 2 meals a day or 1 meal a day. So we're stretching that amount of fasting period. And what it's doing is that it's giving your brain a ton of benefits. It's giving your body a ton of benefits. You are benefiting from this. But the angle that I'm bringing here is the season importance. Is that when you identify the patterns of social environments, the patterns of your energy levels, your mood, your motivation, and you keep in mind where is that you want to go, you start acting a little different and you start bringing behaviors at different times of the year to optimize and to achieve the result that you're seeking in that specific time of the year. So we're using fasting as a solution for the afternoon crash, as a solution to a long-term well-being when you look at it from the whole year perspective, and we're ensuring that we're doing it during the most convenient time of the year. I applied that advice to my friend. 6 months later, right now we're in the middle of the winter, and he feels amazing. He's extremely proud of himself. So there is a psychological effect. Now he feels in control because he knows that when he wants to activate his fasting window, he looks around. He sees what time of the year we're into. And now he has developed a yearly fasting protocol that meets his needs, that gets him closer to his desire, to his goal, and is very convenient. So it is a lot more effortless compared to doing it in the ground time of the year, which is when we were talking. So my call for you is to look into the seasons and truly understand how they affect you. I want you to know that this is all backed by neuroscience. This is all backed by our circadian rhythms. And this is all backed by ultradian rhythms as well, which is the 2 hour up and down energy levels that we experience throughout the year. So we're only talking about fasting here, but there is all these other behaviors, all these other biohacks, all these other positive habits that when you're implementing them in the ground time of the year, don't give you the result that you're seeking. Matter of the fact is that it creates a negative loop of thinking and feeling in your brain because you are not able to commit, you're not able to perform what you think in theory is good for you. Because let's face it, if you just Google fasting, most likely you won't see this video. You will see an influencer in the space that's talking specifically about fasting, and they are not touching on the seasonality of fasting. They're just giving you advice from this is good for you, this is how you do it, this is how you should do it. But they don't have an idea what time of the year and how your routine in this specific time of the year and your specific location looks like right now. And that's what I bring to you is awareness of, in this case, fasting, so that you can identify the best timing throughout the year, so that you can feel the greatest, so that you can achieve the goals that you want, and so that you can start building confidence and awareness that the time of the year makes a lot of sense. So start paying attention to it and start implementing that in your fasting. My call to action is very simple. If you want to know more, follow us on social media. We have a Skool as well. So it's under the seasonal movement. It's all free, all training free, and timely manner. We actually break down nutrition and we touch on fasting throughout our framework. We don't only talk about nutrition, we talk about exercise, we talk about sleeping habits, novelty, outdoor connection. We use neuroscience, circadian rhythms, and ancient Chinese traditional medicine to align ourselves with the seasons to achieve more with less. So I will see you in the next video.